Hey everybody, Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com, back for another Pittsburgh Steelers analysis and breakdown. Apologize in advance. I am trying to add some more video B-roll in some of my analyzing videos and things like that aren't necessarily teach tape kind of stuff, but I won't do it for this one because I want to get my reaction to the Pittsburgh Steelers 53-man roster, at least initially, up quickly for you guys. So I'll just have some still shots on the screen. I want to go through things position by position, and of course, start with a reminder that this roster can and probably will change before week one Monday night against the New York Giants. So, just a caveat there that the situation is still fluid in terms of who will actually be on the 53, which expands to 55 on game day under these new rules anyway for week one. All right, starting off at quarterback, really no surprises there. Ben Roethlisberger, Mason Rudolph, Devlin Hodges are the three who are kept. Well, I thought there was a chance Paxton Lynch could push Hodges initially in camp as reports kind of came in, and you saw the one practice they did show Paxton Lynch not getting any reps at all. Writing was kind of on the wall for him. Not a good sign. Obviously, he may circle back to the practice squad as this team may want to keep four quarterbacks. Running back slash fullback, pretty chalk as well. Connor, Snell, McFarland, Jalen Samuels, Derek Watt making it as the Steelers fullback. Some question about Jalen Samuels making it, but his versatility, what he can do as a receiver, why I think it's a bit overstated and overrated. The team certainly values pretty highly, and so I really didn't see a good path for Kareth White or Wendell Smallwood to take that roster spot, though I do think both those guys have a chance to circle back to the practice squad, which has been expanded to 16 under the new CBA slash COVID procedure. All right, receiver. Here's where things get interesting. The five who were kept are Juju, Deontay Johnson, James Washington, Chase Claypool, and Ray McLeod. And yes, that means Ryan Switzer has been released. I think Jeremy Fowler, there was some report that said he has an ankle sprain. We knew he had a foot injury at some point in practice and did come back, so it seemed like it was pretty minor. The tweet, I think, kind of implied that Switzer may find his way back post week one or at some point may come back to the roster. So don't write Switzer off 100% yet, although the video I did the other day entitled "Yes, Ryan Switzer is probably going to make the Steelers roster" did not age well. I'll be the first to admit that I was wrong about that. Thought Switzer had a really good chance to make it because he was the vet and versatile, and it's not that I'm even anything really remotely considering a Switzer fan or advocate. Although he seems like a really good dude, I just thought he was going to make the roster for all the reasons I laid out in the video. But Ray McLeod, who was picked up during training camp. Kind of a similar skill set, but maybe more explosive, arguably more explosive, and can wear kind of those similar hats. And reportedly had an impressive training camp, so he'll get the roster spot over Switzer for now. And Dion Kane, the second-year receiver out of Clemson, also released in kind of a quiet camp for him. Got a cup of coffee with the team last year in Preston, limited targets, but looks like he's going to go back to the practice squad as well. At tight end, chalk there with McDonald, Ebron, and Gentry. Kevin Rader was released. I'm pretty confident he will land on the practice squad as a number four tight end slash blocker, but those top three tight ends were all virtually guaranteed to make the roster. For the offensive line, nine in total kept, which is one more than what I anticipated. It's Villanueva, a core for Banner, DeCastro, Filer, Dotson, Pouncey, Wisniewski, and Hassenauer. And Hassenauer was the ninth that I did not see coming, although I do think that speaks to some level of concern over DeCastro's injury, where if he's not ready for week one, Tomlin said he's going to try to practice maybe a little bit later this upcoming week on Wednesday, perhaps. They have the extra day with the Monday night game, giving them a little extra time, but I think they want to just protect themselves and not want to waive Hassenauer. So if DeCastro's ready to go, Hassenauer may eventually get cut, but I think they just want to be smart, prudent, because if Wisniewski has to start over DeCastro, then there's another center. I mean, Wisniewski could shift inside, but still to have the extra center. Hassenauer is interior capable, can snap at center or also play guard, although he's terribly undersized and had a bad camp last year when I watched him, but he can't play center, and that's going to give him probably just enough value to make the 53 for now. Defensive line kept six with Hayward, Tuitt, Wormley, Bugs, Alualu, and Carlos Davis, the seventh round rookie. And yes, that means Daniel McCullers has been cut after 6 years with the team as a backup. And just thought it was going to be another ho hum year for Big Dan, where they keep him. There isn't a compelling reason to do so, but there wasn't someone who seemed so obvious to kick him off the roster either because the team just hadn't invested in a guy to really potentially challenge Daniel McCullers, but the rookie Carlos Davis, who I really heard no reports on coming out of camp. Does not mean he had a bad camp, just means we didn't hear much, so we really couldn't tell which way the winds were blowing. But Dan McCullers, he's a guy whose career seems done in Pittsburgh as that career backup after 6 seasons. And with McCullers, there were a lot of reports he'd slimmed down, and it did appear he had dropped some weight, but it's not going to change his overall style of play where he's not a one gap, where he's not going to flow versus zone schemes well. He's not going to be able to stunt and contain and do all the things that kind of a modern NFL defense does. And so I never bought into that hype this year for McCullers dropping weight, being a new man. It just was all kind of silly. But I thought he was going to make the team, but the Steelers went in a different direction with Carlos Davis. Outside linebacker, Watt, Dupree, Highsmith, and Adaney. And that means Tuzar Skipper and Jay Elliott were released. Thought they would keep five. It was the question, is it going to be Skipper? Is it going to be Jay Elliott? Turns out neither make the team again. Probably going to see one, potentially both those guys make it to the practice squad, but only going with four outside linebackers. And I really feel like, and I was skeptical of this before the training camp started, but I really feel like Highsmith is probably going to be first man up in that rotation behind Watt and Dupree. They really seem to like Alex Highsmith. He seems to be having a really strong camp. He's got a high football IQ. He's a pretty versatile pass rusher, a good pass rush plan, and that will give him a jump start in his rookie year. Inside linebacker was chalk with Devin Bush, Vince Williams, UG3, and Robert Spillane. No surprises there. Those guys have been locked in to make the team basically since the offseason began. Cornerback, keeping six with Hayden, Nelson, Hilton, Sutton, Lane, and undrafted rookie free agent cornerback James Pierre from FIU. Reportedly had a good camp. Was a ball magnet, it appeared, always making plays on the football. And why I think you could have snuck a guy like Pierre to the practice squad more easily than past years because there was no preseason. There were no scouts watching your guys. This team obviously like something in James Pierre. They want to collect some good cornerback depth. And so nice to see them hit potentially on an undrafted free agent like James Pierre as a sixth corner. Don't expect him to dress for game days, obviously, to begin the season, but seems like maybe someone to monitor at least for next year, considering all these corners who could get released. Hilton Sutton free agents after this year. Hayden will be another year older. Justin Lane, where his career is going to be at year three, that'll be pretty critical for him. So James Pierre, a name to keep an eye on. And that safety again, no real surprises there at this point with Fitzpatrick, Edmonds, Curtis Riley, Jordan Dangerfield, and Marcus Allen. Allen, that quasi inside linebacker, played there the last 2 weeks in camp, but also played safety, kind of that dimebacker role, potentially a backup there should Cam Sutton get hurt, or if there's an injury that forces Cam Sutton to move into the slot full time or play on the outside, or whatever the case is. So Marcus Allen had a really strong camp, and he'll beat out six-round rookie Antoine Brooks Jr. Brooks Jr., the only rookie not to make the initial 53 man roster. Rest of the group, pretty chalk there. Dangerfield, valuable special teamer, the up back on the punt team. That's a really important spot. Riley was going to be, is likely to be your first man off the bench at free safety and strong safety behind Fitzpatrick and Terrell Edmonds. And finally, your specialist kicker, Chris Boswell, punter, Jordan Berry, and long snapper, Cameron Kennedy. Kennedy had that knee issue, but he seems ready to go. Perhaps they will hang on to the long snapper for a little bit. Liam McCullough, who got released, but I doubt that at this point. And really, no surprises there. A lot of people want to see Berry gone. Corliss Waitman, by media reports, had a good camp, but there's a lot of things that go into having a good camp, and just watching some punts does not really tell you necessarily if a guy had a good punt. You want to look at, hang time and directional kicking and snap the punt and, all those kind of things that holding also very important, obviously, for a punter. The punter is going to be the holder for Chris Boswell. So did not really see a scenario where an undrafted rookie like Waitman, without the benefit of a preseason, even with the benefit of preseason, a normal season, would have made it tough for him to beat out Jordan Berry. And so no surprise there. And of course, Chris Boswell was going to make the team. So overall, final thoughts. Again, the question was this roster going to be pretty chalk, and would you rely on the veterans because of the climate that we're in right now? Or could you see some surprises, at least to us, because we just didn't get to see these guys in preseason, did not get to see them at training camp, and it kind of was more the latter with guys like McCullers and Kane, and certainly Switzer getting the axe in favor of some younger guys and some newer faces like McLeod and Carlos Davis, a seventh round rookie. And so those were kind of where the surprises were at. James Pierre making the roster, stealing a spot as that sixth cornerback. So couple surprises, but again, had we been at camp, maybe we would have been more inclined to know which direction things were going. But there's always going to be the couple moves that catch your attention and are kind of unexpected this time of year. So overall, I think the roster has good quality depth. I don't expect a lot of outsiders coming in, although we'll see what happens. I think that this group's pretty settled at most spots. You could argue for an extra safety. You could argue for an inside linebacker. If Sean Davis wants to come back on the minimum, I'd be open to that. But other than that, I think the roster is relatively set in terms of the guys that were on the team or guys that were cut will be the guys that make up the 53-man roster on Monday night, the 14th, against the New York Giants. Again, practice squad will be set by tomorrow afternoon, 16 spots. They can have veterans on there, so it will look a little bit different from past years where you have a bunch of rookies and just first-year type players who can make it. You can have up to six veterans eligible for the practice squad. So a guy like Jay Elliott, for example, outside linebacker, is now eligible. In past years, he probably would not have been able to be on the Steelers practice squad. So we'll keep it posted on any other roster moves this team makes. Let me know your thoughts on the Steelers initial roster in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.